What I'm talking about, what all Torontonians are talking about when it comes to the TTC is value for money. A 9.1% increase.
If we're more concerned about our gross, the way to make our gross shrink is to tell them not to ride the system and give us the $2.
I'm saying we need to see the full information. That's why bringing the Auditor General in, understanding all the component parts of how that works, looking at the options. The more information they have, the more solutions we can generate. But it is a value for money conversation. And Torontonians don't feel that they're getting that. And a 9.1% cost increase with a 9% fare increase just doesn't make sense.
Those are your questions. Are there any other questions of the deputy? Well, you better get to your seat because I can't recognize you. Are there any other questions of the deputant? Councillor Davis?
As you know, we have for many years had significant shortfalls on provincial mandatory cost-shared programs. Would you agree that the provincial government does owe us money for cost-sharing?
The provincial funding has actually gone up 5 times in terms of ongoing funding since 2003. But let's talk first. I go back to the comment about expenditure. If we can get expenditures...
I had a straightforward question. Would you acknowledge that the provincial government is not paying the full cost-sharing under mandatory statutory cost-sharing on social service programs at the city?
We've seen a big change in terms of the cost with uploading.
No. I'm just
You've seen a movement forward.
Would you not acknowledge that's the case? Are you saying it's not?
Am I saying that 100% of those costs are not covered?
There is. Would you not agree or acknowledge that there is shortfall in provincial cost sharing owed to the City of Toronto?
We have the benefit of uploading. It's moving in over time.
There are many areas where the provincial government is short.
What's the concern? What's the question?
I simply wanted an acknowledgement that the provincial government is not paying its full cost sharing on anything from shelter housing and support, on child care, on court services.
Uploading has come a long way. Yes,
No,
there are still.
No, it hasn't.
It's
Councillor Ray.
Councillor Ray, did you need to get on the speakers list because Councillor Davis has the floor? But against the rules, nevertheless, and I've already admonished the gallery. You're going to have to follow the rules too.
I just find it concerning when that you look to the Board of Trade to be a partner, and we have been and continue to be a partner on uploading. I'm just not understanding where some of the questions are. All of the costs there? No. Have we come a long way in uploading? Yes. Is there still a way to go? Yes. But if we don't have a long-term fiscal plan, it's going to impede our ability to go to the other senior levels of government for continued or ongoing funding. Take the 50-50 on TTC or transit.
So you do acknowledge then, in 2010 and for many years previous, the provincial government is not cost-sharing its mandatory programs. Did I hear a yes? I thought I heard yes. I heard progress.
We're seeing 5.
We're long way to go.
Councillor,
Okay, I give up.
I think you got to.
My second question is the one that I have asked each year as well, because I think it's very unfair to come and ask us to cut and cut. And you've suggested TTC. Tell me where else, what other services you believe we should cut in the City of Toronto? In this operating budget, tell us, because I see page after page of cuts.
Well, I would say that the city's own start in terms of trying to find 172 million in efficiencies is absolutely a move in the right direction. And so we certainly support that. But a lot more needs to be done. So TTC as a starting point is one. You could implement immediately a hiring freeze. You could implement immediately a discretionary freeze in terms of discretionary spending.
Done that.
You could look at the Mayor's fiscal panel recommendations. They have not all been implemented. There are still things there.
And most of that? I'm asking where you recommend we cut. We are proposing Sunday closures in libraries. We are recommending huge increases in fees in recreation. We're proposing reductions in
Is there a question
every
for Councillor
division.
Davis?
So I'm asking what division, department, specific service are you suggesting we should add to our list of cuts?
I think the TTC at 9.1% is a good starting point. From there, that will open up a lot more. That's an expenditure reduction, right?
Reducing the ridership growth strategy, is that?
We've given you in terms of implementing hiring freeze. You've got the mayor's fiscal panel. There have been discussions around outsourcing. There are a whole host of options, but you've got to start somewhere. And look at the numbers that jump off the page this year.
Bus routes?
Pardon?
Bus routes?
No. That's why you need to look at the TTC and the value for money piece that I spoke to earlier.
Okay. Well,
Okay?
we've done that. And
You
have
can't
no,
just look
so
at
you
one
have
narrow piece of it. You've got to look at the whole
There
piece.
are
Councillor Davis,
no other suggestions then.
The Board of Trade in our Growing Chasm report, and I'm presuming that you have read it, and we have spoken to the fact.
2 minutes ago. So,
No, that's the budget deputation.
Well over time.
The Growing Chasm, we went out. We will be coming forward with a more fulsome set of recommendations around that.
okay.
Okay, councillors, I can't provide this much leeway. Clarifications. Clarification only, Councillor Mihevik.
Thank you. Only because you've mentioned the TTC a number of times. You'd be aware that over the last little while there has been a policy decision made by council to increase service, particularly in the off-peak hours and in the overnight hours. Would you be aware? Would you be aware and perhaps acknowledge that the 9% increase, or sorry, the fact that we have to supply more money to the TTC is related to the fact that those rides don't make money.
Is there a question here?
Are you aware of that?
I'm not sure what the question is.
Are you aware of that?
Or was
that
I?
The reason why it is not as efficient is just because we've actually expanded the hours of service in areas of the city and on routes of the city that don't make as much return from people paying in the fare box. It is very different to put an extra bus on.
It's a question, Councillor Mihevik. Are you aware?
Are you aware
of the service
Very
ask?
different to put a bus on Warden Avenue at 8 o'clock at night on a Sunday. It doesn't yield the revenue, and therefore the cost-revenue ratio is different than adding, say, a bus on Bathurst Street during rush hour.
Thank you.
And that would explain some of the
Okay,
differences.
Councillor Mihevik, you have asked the question.
I would go back to that's why I would suggest that we 2 points. One is bring in the Auditor General. You've got to look at all aspects. We can't just talk about one bus route or one particular line. And the analysis, can I just finish? The analysis that we did, the numbers that I were quoting you, were based on your 2008 report. So they're before 2009, when there was quite an increase in your expanded service and an equal increase in terms of hires. So that's the time period with which the information we had from you, it's your information, not ours, that we were able to look at it.
Okay.
Okay?
Just a quick question.
Councillor Fletcher?
I just wanted confirmation from you that despite everything, problems you've acknowledged, that our budget is balanced.
No, it's not.
Balanced but unsustainable.
Balanced but unsustainable. And acknowledge from you that the federal deficit is a $56 million deficit in their budget.
I'm not here to talk about the federal
Billion.
deficit.
You're not here, but I just
We're
like
not here
that
to talk
acknowledgement.
about the federal deficit.
And the acknowledgement that the provincial deficit is $24 billion.
We're here to
Can you
talk about...
acknowledge those three levels of government
Councillor, I
with their
think we're here to
budget?
talk about the
Which
city's
is a
structural
clarifica-
deficit. That's a big enough deficit to deal with today.
Councillor, I'm sorry, you weren't here at the beginning, but I was very clear that to get through the time, the list we have today, it's clarifications of
Well,
comments
it's just
the
a
delegates have
clarification
made.
about what's balanced and what isn't, Madam Chair.
Any further questions? Councillor Fletcher, those are your questions?
It's 56 billion, 24 billion, zero.
I don't
Thank
think
you.
we're here to talk about the
Thank you.
province.
And I have...